Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Faith Chats, Faith, Family, Freedom, and America. I'm your host, Andrew Burnett, and today we have with us Matt Trayler from CBMC. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. So, to begin, for those who are unfamiliar with CBMC, give us a little bit of background of what you do.
Yeah, CBMC stands for Christian Businessmen's Connection. It began over 90 years ago in Chicago on the heels of the Great Depression. And essentially, it was a group of businessmen who felt compelled to pray for their community and to share the gospel during that very, I guess, desperate time. And since then, it has grown into a national and international ministry that focuses on the lives of men, particularly men in the workplace, to help empower them to share the gospel, to grow spiritually, and to be lights in their workplaces.
So, in what ways does the Christian businessmen's connection bring hope to men in our nation?
Yeah. Well, men can find themselves feeling pretty isolated. The way our culture and life goes, sometimes men are so focused on their career, providing, that the next, focused on what is it, their next job title and how much money they're going to bring in. Sometimes we neglect the things that really do matter because we can end up finding our identity in our job title and our paycheck. That's who we are, and that's not correct. And when we find our identity in those things, and we find our purpose is seems to be that, we can men can find themselves feeling pretty isolated, lonely, broken. Those that path can lead down having the idea that your purpose, your identity is in your paycheck or your job title can lead down to a path of where you are lonely, broken, and isolated.
So, what was it about CBMC's vision to transform men's lives, families, and workplaces through faith that resonated with you personally when you
Yeah.
joined?
Yeah, for me personally, I came from working as an executive leader in a Christian nonprofit of all places. And I, even at that point, being a person who was a Christian leader, I found myself feeling pretty isolated, feeling like I was all alone in how in leading and making decisions that affected other people's lives, and not really having a place where I could talk about it. I had my wife, and my wife, who is my life partner, is a great place to talk about things. But you need men in your life too, who are pouring into you, who are speaking to you, who are, as we would say, iron sharpening iron. And my wife, she could empathize, but she didn't fully understand some of the things I was struggling with as a man. So having a group of brothers whom I can talk to, or another man who's spiritually mature, who can talk with me, who a spiritually mature man who has been battle tested, to be able to pour into me, it was very important. And so I love that CBMC helps men connect into those teams, or to find that spiritual mentor or disciple maker.
So, how did your 20 years in nonprofit leadership and communications lead you to become CBMC's director of programs?
Yeah. So in the in those 20 years, I personally I hit burnout. I just was empty, done. And for 3 years, I asked the Lord, "What do you want me to do? What is it? Where are you leading me?" Because I thought this is where you had me. I thought this was my calling. And if it is my calling, Lord, fill me. Give me that passion again. And he was silent with me for 3 years. And I remember one January of 2022, the Lord spoke and said, "I want you to, put your, begin looking." And a friend of mine, one day, I was actually going to a spiritual retreat, and a friend of mine sent me the job posting for CBMC and said, "Hey, you need to check this out." And it just the Lord opened the door for me to come to be a part of CBMC. I identified with the mission. I love that its niche is men in the marketplace. We want in helping men become the men God created them to be.
So you worked in film production and marketing too. So how did those
Yeah.
creative skills shape the way that you design evangelism and discipleship tools for
Yeah.
business professionals?
Yeah. So we try to, well, first of all, knowing that, be, I think for me is understanding how we can take the stories of men who have been, who, again, those battle tested men who have a testimony of how God has worked in their life, and being able to share it with other men so that they understand that they're not alone. Sometimes as men, I think we can think that problems and issues that we face, we're the only ones going through it. And that is the enemy speaking to us. Helping men to be vulnerable and to open up is important. So for us, we want to be able to capture those stories and share them with other men so that they understand that you are not alone in this fight. And you have men who want to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, who want to pray with you, who want to pray for you, pray with you, empower you, and equip you to be the man God created you to be.
So, from those pre Easter gatherings that you shared with us about in the beginning of our conversation to today's nationwide ministry, what do you see as the most defining moments in CBMC's evolution over the decades?
Yeah. So when CBMC began, and we haven't veered from our mission, but we have, there has been some evolution in how we equip and empower men and deploy them. So we one of our tactics is for reaching men, particularly we have events, prayer breakfasts, business luncheons, where we encourage our CBMC members to bring someone who is unconvinced. You know, they may not have a spiritual life, or they may be Christians at face, but not really living it out, you know, Monday through Saturday. Um, and so bring them along and let's impact them. Let's try to get them into a life on life discipleship, or get them plugged into a peer advisory group, which is one of the things that have evolved with CBMC, beginning these groups where guys can plug in, and they can plug in no matter what season of life they find themselves in. We have peer advisory groups for young professionals, guys under 40, guys who are just, you know, coming out of college and getting into the workplace and finding that, wow, this I need something. I need more than what this is offering it here in the workplace. I need someone to help me personally, professionally, spiritually. We have peer advisory groups for business owners and leaders, guys who are running their business and need, they feel alone because they're at the top, and they feel like there's no one there at the top whom they can share their most uh, uh, important issues affecting them as a business owner. And then we're getting ready to start a peer advisory group for men who have exited the marketplace, who are retiring. Maybe they're selling their company, and now they feel like they lack purpose. They no longer command their business. And we want to be able to help them and equip them to pour into the next generation. So the evolution of CBMC from just strictly life on life, another guy pouring into another guy, and building on top of that of peer groups that are specifically designed for men in their season of life has been impressive to me in our 90-year development.
So, Operation Timothy launched in the 1970s and is one of CBMC's hallmark tools. Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain how the Paul and Timothy mentoring model works
Yeah,
and why it is so effective for discipleship?
yeah. Discipleship can come in many forms. You have small group discipleship. You know, a lot of churches use, you know, what was Sunday school, Wednesday night Bible study, and now a lot of churches use small group. But I can tell you, as someone who led those and participated in those, it's easy to slide under the radar, and to really open up and be vulnerable about the deep spiritual issues that I struggle with in a small group setting is not always easy. And so we believe life on life, a man discipling another man, a woman discipling another woman, is one of the best ways to go about it. We see the example of Paul in Scripture, who discipled young Timothy and modeled what it looked like to be a God follower, and modeled the good and the bad to Timothy. And so we would say that life on life is where it's at. And Operation Timothy is the track, it's content that CBMC has developed that a person can use to disciple another person. But the purpose of Operation Timothy is to help the person you're discipling not just become spiritually mature, but to understand that they are then to turn around and disciple another person. Operation Timothy helps a person become a disciple maker.
So, Operation Timothy recently went digital. How has
Mhm.
this update, along with tools like the Living Proof Adventure video series, made it easier for men to share their faith in today's fast paced world?
Yeah. So Operation Timothy is a discipleship track for men to run on or women to run on. Digitally, it's available for free at on our platform, advance.cbmc.com. A person can log in there and use Operation Timothy. They can also access a small group study called Living Proof Adventure, which is to help people become equipped to engage in lifestyle evangelism. How do I share my faith in a casual relationship style way with those around me? Living Proof equips people to do that. We also have other tools like becoming a spiritual reproducer. What does discipleship truly look like? How do I do that? How do I engage somebody? I mean, how do you actually walk up to someone and say, "Hey, you want to be discipled?" It doesn't always work. It's not always an easy question to ask, and nor is it an easy question to answer. So, how does that? What does that look like? How does that unfold? So, at CBMC, we want to equip people to be able to live out their faith and to disciple others effectively.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the Young Professionals program for
Mhm.
men aged 25 through 40. What
Mhm.
inspired CBMC to create this program, and how does it address the unique pressures young leaders face today?
Yeah. Well, Young Professionals is aimed at young professional men who, again, who are coming out of college, getting into the workplace, trying to grow their career. A lot of them are getting married, starting a family. And when you begin to incorporate all that together, it can become a recipe for disaster if you don't have people pouring into you. So, Young Professionals is a peer advisory group that meets once a month for 3 hours. And usually it's a group of 10 to 12 led by a trained facilitator. And in those 3 hours, a what we call a sage or a seasoned, action oriented, godly executive, it's usually a mature, spiritually mature, successful businessman who has, again, has life's battle wounds. And that person comes in and shares with these young men. And these young men have the opportunity to engage that sage, ask questions, build a relationship with them. And also during that time, young professionals are able to pour into one another. There's accountability, there's issue processing. So guys can share an issue and then it's processed in a very orderly way so that the guy walks away with action steps and how to deal with that. And from a spiritual perspective, from a practical perspective, it really helps young men grow personally, professionally, spiritually, where they're able to pour into each other's lives, but also have these seasoned business guys be able to share with them as well.
So you described the program as fostering iron sharpening iron.
Hmm. Hmm.
Can you paint a picture of what a monthly meeting looks like and how it builds that sense of community?
Yeah. So again, it's 3 hours, and so guys fill out an application to be able to join a young professional group. Ideally, a young professional member can at least articulate their faith. They don't have to be a mature Christian, obviously, but they can at least articulate their faith because it'd be very beneficial to them in those meetings. Um, and again, it's led by a trained facilitator. Guys are able to pour into one another. Again, during that time, there are certain um, things that the guys do, tasks, and the curriculum to help guys pour into each other. And again, you have these seasoned business leaders coming in and speaking and pouring into those guys as well. I mean, imagine having access to a successful businessman who's had years of experience, who has again been through the spiritual highs and lows of leading a business, leading a family, who's come out the other side or who may have had some battles along the way, being able to share with you, hey, listen, I tried this, it didn't work, or I made this decision, it was poor. I'm telling you, you don't want to do this. You don't want to go down this path. Be very careful. Having the access to guys like that, not many young guys have that opportunity, and Young Professionals provides that.
So, one participant said CBMC provides a band of brothers to encourage
Hmm.
them. Can you
Yeah.
share a story of how the Young Professionals programs has transformed a participant's career or personal life?
Yeah. Our young professional teams are usually confidential. Our guys signed a confidentiality agreement, but in my position, there are times I've been able to go around and audit these young professional teams, and there are some stories I can share. One particular team I visited, again, it's 10 to 12 young guys being led by a couple facilitators each month. But I remember them going around the table doing an accountability exercise and sharing vulnerable issues that they face with one another. But one of the young, and in these young professional groups, you have guys from various backgrounds. Some guys are leading in management positions. Some are still, entering their career and building it, and they're not quite there yet. And again, they come from varying uh, business backgrounds from the workplace. And one guy that shared, he was a young biochemist for a company. And then you had another guy across the table from him. He was a technician with Centos. They change out carpets at companies, and they, clean uniforms and all that. And I remember that guy saying to the group, I don't know if I belong here, part of this team. And one of the guys across the table said, you belong. You're part of this group. We are all in this together, no matter what we're doing. So again, as they're sharing, being vulnerable, they're building and bonding together. So when any guy on that team goes through something very difficult, you have a band of brothers that have got your back, who are praying for you, who are lifting you up, who are encouraging you, and who know exactly what you're going through, because some of them across from you may have gone through or will be going through the same thing. And so having people who can identify, empathize, sympathize, but who are standing behind you or beside you, shoulder to shoulder, that band of brothers is an important thing to know you have when you're going through the highs and lows of life.
So, looking ahead, how do you see CBMC adapting its programs to meet the evolving needs of business professionals, especially with trends like remote work or AI reshaping the
Mm-hmm.
workplace?
Yeah. So in one of our areas, one of our area leaders for CBMC saw the need for helping guys who are solopreneurs, guys who, they own their own business, but they're the only employee, to be able to, put together a team, a peer advisor group for guys specifically who are solopreneurs, so that they know that they're not alone. Obviously, you're not facing always employee issues, but you may be facing scaling issues. How do I run my business by myself? How do I balance my life, my work life? Because as a solopreneur, you may be working 60, 70 hours a week trying to, keep your company running when it's just yourself. And so having the ability to be able to pivot, to adapt, to flex our programs to meet a specific need like that in the workplace, we feel is important. So as we see culture changing, we see the workplace changing, we want to make sure that we can be as flexible as possible to meet those needs as they come up.
So, for listeners and viewers inspired to get involved, whether through the Young Professionals Program or CBMC initiatives, what's the first step they should take, and what can they expect from joining?
Yeah. So if anything I've said today has kind of struck you, I would encourage you to go to our website, cbmc.com, and browse it. And depending on where you're at in your season of life, just fill out the get started form, and we'll see if we can connect you in. CBMC is across 36 states. We have some teams that meet virtually, so we'll find a way to best meet your needs. Um, we hope that whoever is searching, that they're open hearted, that they're tender, they're looking, and most guys they're looking for something spiritually. And we want them to know, first and foremost, we want to be able to connect them with Jesus Christ, and then help them grow spiritually, personally, and professionally.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I encourage our viewers to go to cbmc.com to find out more about the ministry and Christian Businessmen's Connection. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me.
All right. God bless.
God bless.